Hello there. Greetings.
Hi,
We're back, and so are you.
glad to be with you.
So today we're going to talk about two of our favorite subjects, marriage and happiness. And believe it or not, they can go together. I know some people don't believe that. They haven't had great experiences, but for those of us who have um, experienced sooner or later or at some point a really fulfilling connection on a long-term basis with another person, you know what I'm talking about. So happiness is something that is dependent upon a lot of factors being in sync. And it's not necessarily about the things that we often put a lot of time and energy into, like acquiring things and focusing on material objects or making money. I mean, not that there's anything wrong with any of that stuff, but the thing that studies have found, and Linda's going to talk a little bit about some of those studies, that really makes people happy and fulfilled in their lives has less to do with objects and material things than it has to do with experiences. And one of the experiences that makes a huge difference in terms of one's quality of life has to do with the quality of relationship and connection that they have with other people. So marriage itself alone does not guarantee that you will up-level your happiness level in your life, but to the degree that you have brought certain kinds of experiences into your relationship, into your marriage, your happiness level is pretty much guaranteed to rise.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Yes, and I want to make sure that the listening audience doesn't believe that we are just talking pop psychology. We've read the research, and so our claims that we're making in our presentation today are backed up by the social psychologists who research marriage and happiness. There's an institute in Chicago, I want to get the name right, the National Opinion Research Center. They interviewed and gave questionnaires to 35,000 people over a period of 3 decades. That's 30 years. The people who got the highest possible scores in the very happy category, 40% of those people were married. In the other category of not in the very happy, there were only 24% of the singles, divorced, and widowed people. So this is a very large number of people over a very large number of years. So the social scientists that go and find out from people what their level of happiness is and whether they're married or not are consistent with our anecdotal studies of our relationship and our friends and the people that we interviewed in our study, The Secrets of Great Marriages. So some people criticize the findings and they say, well, the people who are already happy are more likely to get married. And that's why they so highly represented in the highest ranges of happiness. So they factored that in, and the researchers found that it's safe to say that you may have gone into the marriage pretty happy already, but that you get an extra boost from the marriage itself, the connection. And you get the biggest boost from the most terrific marriage. That's when you hit the highest ranges of all of happiness.
Yeah, well, it can work either way. You can really enhance your level of happiness and fulfillment in your life through a committed partnership. Or if you get into a marriage that really goes south, then your happiness level will actually go down.
Goes with it.
Yeah. So it's not so much that a relationship will bring you that, but what a relationship, particularly a committed partnership, will provide for you is a context, is an arena within which you can have the experiences that will enhance your level of fulfillment in your life. It will also, at the same time, confront you with some of the things that you may have not been willing to do or be that have kept your happiness level lower than it could have been.
Mm-hmm.
So it's definitely a means through which we can identify what our work is in order to become a happier person and to have a more fulfilling life. And the key to that has to do with recognizing what a huge part relationship plays in your level of well-being. Because so many of us don't really appreciate what a huge factor that is, that really is. Oh, did I tell you to shut off your phones? Yeah.
Well, he's fixing his phone. I want to tell you what some of the specific benefits are from marriage that boost our happiness quotient. Feeling secure, feeling connected, feeling the comfort that comes from the predictability of having one special person in your life that you're committed to and is committed to you brings you peace of mind. That boosts your well-being. The research is really hard evidence that married people have less heart disease, have less cancer, if they have less hospitalizations if they ever need to be in the hospital, they go home sooner than the unmarried people.
Tell them what they have
and
more
less
of.
meds.
I want to hear that.
What you have more of. Married people have more sex than singles. They have more money, a lot more money, especially the really happily married ones. They're supporting each other to be terrific income earners, and over a lifetime they amass fortunes if that's what their goal is. So they have more security, they have more sex, they have more money, and they have better mental health, less depression, less stress, less anxiety.
She'd make a good salesman, wouldn't she?
I'm a believer.
Yeah.
I feel marriage is the best thing that ever happened to me.
Yeah, you are. I mean, you converted me. It took you a while.
I know it took a while.
You did manage to convert me. Yeah. So when you have this awareness, when you really get it, that, man, the cornerstone to having a happy life is having great relationships, particularly if you can create a primary relationship with somebody. When you really connect those dots and you see, man, that's where it's at. It's not like you stop caring about money or you quit your job and, you just focus everything on making this relationship work. No, but what you do is you prioritize the relationship in a way that you give it its due. Most people, particularly if they get married and have kids and move into that stage of life where they're just, some of you may have been there, or maybe you're there now, where they're just consumed, overwhelmed. Oh God, there's just so much to do. I got so many things on my plate, and I've got this to-do list that just gets bigger every day, and I can't check off enough things. Then guess what goes to the bottom of the list if you're not really clear about your priorities.
Mm-hmm.
And when your relationship goes to the bottom of the list, it gets neglected. And neglect is like the kiss of death for a relationship, because, like any other organism, it requires ongoing attention, care, and maintenance.
Mm-hmm.
When you really are grounded in an understanding and a trust that this is potentially the biggest thing in our lives,
Mm-hmm.
is this relationship, the most important thing, the thing which we do have some influence and control over, which can make the biggest difference, even a bigger difference than how much money we have or what our education is or anything else. When you really get that, then you will naturally find the time and the energy to make it a priority, even if you've got a full-time job or more, even if you've got a child or several children. We may have mentioned this, or you may have read this in our second book, but one of the couples that we interviewed for this book, The Secrets of Great Marriages, had 13 children.
We disguised them in the book as only 12, but they really had 13.
Yeah, they had 13. And they, we were just amazed when we found that out. We interviewed them at their house. Not all their kids are home. Some of the kids are grown and live outside the house, but there's still like 6 or 7 that are living at home. But they have raised 13 children, and we were just kind of astounded. Like, I mean, how did you do it? Like that doesn't even seem possible. And the rabbi had a big congregation, and he had huge responsibilities, and so did
his
wife, and she worked full time, and so basically, their answer to the question that we asked was, our marriage is the hub of the wheel.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that in order for us to be able to handle everything else that we've got going here, this has got to be solid all the time, which doesn't mean that there's never an argument or a breakdown. I mean, they're just like the rest of us mortals. They have their moments too, but they prioritize this in a way that it gets the attention that it needs. And it's not necessarily a lot of time, but it's enough time, and it's enough quality time so that when they connect, they really connect, and they do it every day.
Mm-hmm. So I'm totally with Charlie about this, that a lot of people spend their precious life energy in a lot of other ways and don't get as big a return.
That's right.
As if we make our relationships really a high priority. Now, we're very well aware that marriage and committed partnership is not for everybody, but relationship is for everybody. And
Mhm.
if marriage isn't on your menu and committed partnership, romantic partnership is not on your menu, some of the same extraordinary, luscious benefits are available to you from having close connections with family and friends. So prioritizing our relationships with family and friends, in addition to our marriage, will give us a tremendous boost in our well-being. Not to be dissuaded by the propaganda of the highly materialistic competitive society that we live in, that money, and status and power is going to do it. All of the social scientists that we respect, not just in the positive psychology movement, but in the larger body of research, say the same thing. Relationships is where you're going to get your return. So if you have affectionate bonds with friends, you get some of the same benefits from touch and affection that you get with a lover, because you get the love cocktail with oxytocin and the endorphins, which give live messages to your body. And the people who have these networks of support, even if they're not married, also get the health benefit, the longevity benefit, the less stress. Having confidants, people that you feel you can go to in your time of need, is a de-stressor in our highly stressed society. So to do an assessment of, am I putting my time, intention, attention in the place where I am going to get the biggest boost in my well-being? Each one of us has to take a look at that question and live in that question and be honest with ourselves whether we're taking the best possible care of our relationships. And the people who are not doing that are suffering. People are dying of loneliness because they feel disconnected. They live alone. They don't have somebody to come home to. They don't have a confidant. They don't feel like anybody has their back. They don't have people to reality test with. And you can get into a very sour place. And those of us who have networks of support, including perhaps a lover or a spouse, we have the platform to take risks in our life and to try things because we have a place, safe haven to come back to. So we can have adventure in our life. And those couples over the long term, we got more than 50 years now, who keep romance alive, do you know they have a vitality and aliveness and a sparkle in their life that's very evident when you meet them. And we wish that for you.
You know, the book that we wrote after our second book about secrets of great marriages is about the myths. It's about, 40 of the myths that are prevalent in our culture. And we wanted to identify those myths and kind of challenge them, because when you believe a myth, which is something that is not necessarily true, then you are kind of predisposing yourself to have an expectation that could lead to a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the myths that is very prevalent in our culture is that after a certain period of time, relationships just naturally go flat.
No.
And you can't necessarily expect to have the juice and the passion and the intensity that you had in the early stages, particularly the infatuation stage of a relationship. And there is some truth to that and it's a good thing, because if we were to live or try to live in a permanent state of infatuation, we would probably be hard pressed to be able to handle the other things in our life, because we'd be so drunk on, all of the juice that we're experiencing in the passion and the sexual excitement and everything that goes along with that. So yeah, things can, de-intensify to some degree, but although they may not get stronger, they can get much deeper. And we used the phrase earlier about quality time.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the quality of the time that you spend together and the quality of your life experience in general does not have to diminish at all. In fact, in some ways, it will actually, if you really invest yourself in this relationship, the quality will become much more enhanced than it would be if you were just kind of putting yourself on cruise control and playing out this expectation that, oh, well, after a while, we've been together for X number of years, and I guess that's sort of
Dull,
what happens.
Predictable,
That's inevitable.
Boring, stale.
And so you stop even really feeling or acknowledging the desire for more because you're kind of in a state of resignation. You're resigned to having to just accept that, well, oh, this is the way it goes. That's the way it went with my parents, or that's the way it seems to be going with, these other people that we know. And so, yeah, I guess that's how it is. Doesn't have to be. Doesn't have to be. But in order for it not to be that way, you've got to challenge that myth and reject it and operate with the trust, the acceptance, the understanding that I don't have to lose the pleasure and the joy that we once shared. That if it's diminished, it's not because that's inherent in the way it is. It's because we haven't adequately attended to it. We haven't done the things that we used to do that did keep us in that state of delight and romance and appreciation and gratitude and open-heartedness. We stopped doing that.
Mm-hmm. So the study that I got a big kick out of is validating what Charlie is making the claim right now about the people who really invest in their partnerships, who don't buy into the notion that they get stale and boring, predictable and flat over time. The research that was done internationally of 17 different countries, the researchers at the World Values Study found that in 16 out of the 17 nations that they studied, they found the same thing that the study in the United States found, that the people with the highest status in happiness and well-being were married. So to me, that meant it's the same all over the world. The people who take the time and the effort to put their attention to their closest relationships, they're the ones that are thriving. So look to your own experience. Don't take our word for it. We're just bringing you some summaries of our research and other people's research to prompt you to take a good deep look and see if there's a way you want to tweak your life and maybe take a little time and energy from other domains of your life to put into the closest relationships, not just marriage, not just romantic partnership, but all the people who are precious to you, to make sure that they know that, to make sure to take time to open to their support. One of the beautiful things that the exemplary couples in book 2 that Charlie was talking about, they all told us in different words. They didn't yet necessarily use the phrase that we use of believing eyes, but they saw the greatness in each other and they called it forth. They mirrored it back to each other. They supported each other in a profound way to be their great self, their contributing self, to live the life that had heart and meaning for them, to feel purpose in their life. And while they were doing that kind of reciprocal support, their health got better, the finances got better, their stress level went down, and their happiness went up. And so this isn't rocket science. This is just simple, but creating great relationships is not necessarily easy. Although the formulas can be simple, carrying them out can be difficult because we all have myths that get in our way. We have experience from the past that puts a ceiling on the level of our happiness, what we feel we have a right to expect because our self-worth, our self-confidence isn't as high. And this is one of the beautiful benefits of marriage, that it heals those old wounds, some of them going way back to childhood, and some of them are in adulthood. But it is a healing relationship when it's working well that lifts us up.
Can't add too much to that. I think
Okay.
that pretty much says it all.
Yeah, we have a lot to be thankful for the blessings that our closest relationships are. And it's Thanksgiving next week. We won't be with you on Thanksgiving. We will be with you in 2 weeks. The date is going to be in December. And the topic is research proves that money can't buy happiness.
But it can't hurt.
It can't hurt, but it can't buy your happiness. There are other things we're going to need to be doing if we want to hit those high ranges of happiness.
So hopefully you'll be spending Thanksgiving with at least one of your loved ones. And regardless of who you're with, see if you can bring some of those things that we've talked about here today into that relationship, into those conversations that you have. See if you can view that person through eyes of appreciation rather than through judgment.
And it couldn't hurt to tell them what you're feeling.
Good night.
Okay.
See you then.
Happy Thanksgiving.